Welcome to In This Body, the online event to support parents and caregivers with staying regulated and connected even when things get intense. And today I'm really honored to have an amazing person with me, Rowan Gabrielle. Rowan is a pioneering leader and entrepreneur in the global consciousness movement. She's a best-selling co-author of the book Sacred Commerce, A Blueprint for New Humanity. She's also the co-founder and CEO of KidsEQ, an international initiative to empower families with tools of emotional literacy, building on the legacy co-created with her late husband, Ayman Sawaf. And that legacy produced a 21 book series, two award-winning films, and three TV series. Rowan is the creator of the Emotional Alchemy course. And there's so much more that Rowan has done. I'm really honored to have you here. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Nadine, and thank you for all that you're doing here. It's really beautiful. I'm excited for it.
Thank you. Uh, so I know I really summarized your bio because you've done so much in your life. Tell us,
You did a
yeah.
great summary. And just for the record, I am not a best-selling author. My husband's first book was best-selling. That's Executive EQ, which of course I worked on. But just for
Okay.
the record.
Yeah. So tell us more about your story, where you started and what you do now.
Thank you. Well, my start was actually very unusual. I was, homeschooled at a time when that was very uncommon. And I was really more unschooled than homeschooled. I was given more freedom than most people experience as children. And the result for me, as the oldest of five children, was that I grew up quite quickly and I became responsible quite quickly because I was responsible not only for myself, but often my siblings. And I got quite interested in my own education and, learning because I could choose what I wanted to study, or not. Sometimes I would just play in nature. I played in nature a lot. Um, and so when I was 15, I was one of the co-founders of one of I think it was the second democratic school in the UK. It's still going. It's called SANS, and it's in Devon. And that was a really amazing experience because there was five staff and 23 kids that came together to start this school. And it was democratic. So one person, one vote. Doesn't matter if you're the youngest, the headmaster, the oldest. And we really were so proud of it. We took a lot of, intention in all the decisions we made. We decided whether you had to do exams, whether you didn't, what, like all the things. And on the last day of school, I ended up staying 2 years because I was a little bit older and I hadn't done GCSEs. So I did four the first year and then I loved it so much I stayed on and did my second four. And on the last day of my school there, I had this vision of people creating local businesses that just kept on as they got successful, investing in another local business and another local business, and entrepreneurs really being a force of change in the world. Um, so roll forward 5 years, no, not even 5 years. I think I met my husband 3 years later. Um, he was the first person I'd ever met that had a similar passion for business as a potential force of evolution and change and raising consciousness. And we were both so excited to meet each other. And there was a big age difference. There was 18 years age difference. So we didn't really know what to do with it. We just started doing projects together. But after like 6 months, when we're spending like every day together, we were like, okay, this is this is more than just a partnership. And so we became life partners. And it was he's now in heaven, but it was a 30 years of non-stop co-creation. Our passion was very much a joint destiny. So it was quite a magnificent 30 years, not without its trials, but that is exactly why we created these languages of emotional literacy. Because when you have that age difference and the cultural difference and the financial difference and the height difference and all the differences, you have to create a language that protects the love.
Mm, mm. Yeah, I love how you state that a language that protects the love. Eh, Tell me more about what does that mean? What does a language really mean?
So emotions obviously happen to us, day in, day out. But in our culture, they kind of like happen and it's like, wow, I'm mad. But people don't really stop to listen to the message of that I'm mad. They just get mad and they let it fester in them, or they suppress it, or they don't listen to it as a messenger, as something that needs to be listened to and to be spoken with, So anger, for example, is a very simple message. It's a message there's something you're not okay with in your reality. If you don't address that by moving away from it, by facing it, by, whatever is appropriate to that thing, then because anger is a very active emotion, it is either going to come out as violence or aggression or something like that, or you're going to suppress it and it's going to come out as health problems or depression or something like that because it's an energy that cannot be stopped. It's so active. It's the most active of all our emotions. So that's a part of that language, just understanding what they're trying to say so that you can pause and have that conversation, not only with the emotion, but also with your family. This is happening. I'm mad about it. And like, what could we do? You know, but when we don't pause to address what the emotion is trying to tell us, we don't even know that it's trying to tell us. We just feel this like rush of kind of energy in us that we don't know what to do with, you know?
Mm, mm. And you talked about two parts here, addressing the emotion and also dealing with our family members or the others,
Yeah.
the external environment. So that's how I've heard it. There's two parts here.
And that's why we call it a language, the language of emotional literacy, and that's what Kids EQ is all about, is about teaching that as a language. And I have three sons, two stepsons and one son that's 14. And when I realized that it was really, I mean, we always talked about it as a language, but what I realized with my son is that we never sat him down and taught him the language. Like you don't sit him down and teach him English if that's the language in your house. He just grows up speaking English because you speak English in the house or you speak Arabic in the house, whatever. And because we spoke emotional literacy in our house, like if, to give you an example, if we were, even if we were in a business meeting and one of my aspects was coming up, like all of us have different aspects depending on our personality traits, right? Some people have greed, some people have lust, some people have shame, some people have righteousness. I mean, all of these things, right? We all have them. And when we're under stress, those aspects are going to come to the front. Now, basic stress is tired and hungry. This happens every week, right? So it's not like emotionally intelligent people don't get jealous, don't get, of course they do. We're human, right? But when those aspects would come up, like to give you a tangible example, when my son was tiny, like one, we still had our team, and they would come to our house and meet with us. And I would be exhausted. I've been up all night with the baby, but I would still come to the meeting because I loved our work. And they would have done something wrong. We had like a couple of young guys working with us at that time. And I'd be like, this is terrible English, blah, blah, blah. And my husband would look at me and he'd be like, yeah, but does it have to be said like that? Meaning, like, do you need to be so rude? And immediately I would swallow my pride that I'd done something not very nice, and I'd be like, oh. yes, I'm sorry. I'm tired, but we need to fix the English. So like real time, you can address the issue. You can feel your own pride or your own arrogance or whatever is, in the way. It doesn't go away. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't go away. But if you have that language and you know that about each other, then you can address it even in front of people. But if we know we want to be a better person, we want to be a good person, then what? We're going to just be like, pride is cheap. I can pick up more on any street corner. And
Mhm.
you can, let it go and change immediately. So he grew up with that environment in our house. My husband and I didn't really let each other get away with anything. We wouldn't process each other, but we'd just be like, really? You're going to talk to me like that? And the other one would be like, oh, kind of whoops. Um, and so when my husband passed, my son, like about a few months in, I had my first kind of wobble, as you would. And I'm like feeling, all martyred and overwhelmed and everything. And I'm like, Aslan, I've been doing all of this and you've been out all day at school and and he looks at me and he's like, Mom, don't you think you're being a bit of a martyr? And I'm like, yes, sorry, but please can you help me?
Mm,
Like, boof. He didn't have to like explain to me. He did one word. But because that word has a common understanding in the family, he doesn't have to like sit down and process me or like, he's like, don't you think you're being, and I'm like, yeah,
mm, mm.
whoops.
Yeah, yeah. So growing up, he's already familiar with the process that happens and your style of communication. And you mentioned something around both you and your husband being willing to call it out in the moment and talk about it rather than it's sometimes it's so easy just to ignore it or deny that it's there
Yeah.
and we'll just hide it for now and it will go away. It
Yeah.
doesn't. It doesn't.
Exactly, exactly. And so often our pride or arrogance doesn't want anybody to call us out. But if you've really as a team, as a family, if you've decided you don't want to play those games because they're all games, right? They're all of them. Control, martyrhood, guilt, self-pity, they're all ways that we manipulate each other, you know? And if you really decide, I don't want to be that parent, that wife, that husband, I don't want to be that person that manipulates my family to get them to do what I want, then you've already made that decision together. So then, even if in a business meeting someone says, don't you think that's your pride talking? You can feel the sting. It still stings, let me tell you. But you have already made a decision that you want to be better than that. And you're like, oops, yes, sorry. And the sting is finished. Whereas if you don't lift yourself above it, that sting can fester and go deeper and hurt more because you've perpetuated the lie, and kept the nasty narrative going. You haven't told the truth.
Mm, mm. And it's yes, it takes so much honesty and self-honesty as well.
Yeah,
And what you mentioned, commitment,
yeah,
that commitment. Uh, so you bring this work, this emotional literacy language to kids now.
yeah.
I'm really interested in hearing more about that.
So really what we realized, although our company is called KidsEQ, and that is the emotional intelligence of our children is the outcome that we are working towards, really honestly, the truth is we have to start with the parents. Because as we just said, if the language is not spoken in the household, you can send your kids to whatever training you want, they're going to pick up the family patterns. Because all of us, literally in our DNA, have patterns that we've inherited that are patterns of those manipulations, control, martyrhood, self-pity, guilt, all blame, all of these manipulations. And then around those manipulations are the anger, fear, jealousy, all the emotions that, that are trying to be hidden really and suppressed by the control mechanism. And so it's very important for the adults and when, when we do the training for the families, the adults have to look back and see, well, what was my training in anger? How did my mother deal with her anger? How did my father deal with his anger? You know, was it suppressed? No one spoke about it. Was it expressed and it was violent and it was terrifying? Or was it good? Sometimes it's healthy. It's not like it's always bad, but we really have to look at our lineage. And I think as parents, we do have to make a conscious choice of what we want to take forward from our lineage and what we want to be the end of the line for, because very often these patterns have gone for like decades, generations. Like, it's not just your mom, it's your grandma, it's your great grandma. And it's like almost like there's a pride in it. And so when we want to be the end of the line, it's a little bit of work because even, for example, my lineage is martyrhood. The mothers all martyred themselves, sacrificed everything for their children, and then punished their children for not doing everything they want, right? The martyr is not really a nice person. They look nice in the beginning because they're doing something selfless for you, except it's not selfless. Like the archetype of the Jewish mother. I carried you in my belly for 9 months. I fed you. I did everything for you. You're going to be a doctor and make me proud, right? There's this unspoken, I'm going to do all this for you, but then you, child, are going to make me proud. You're going to be my gold star. That's why I'm doing all this. I'm not doing it really for you. I pretend I am, you know?
Mm.
So I realized this in my 20s and I dealt with my martyrhood a lot. And I became a much nicer person to my husband and, all the people around me. And then I had a child at 40, 39. He's 7 days old and he's having a hard time drinking milk. He's got like a tongue tie and there's some issues. And so so I'm trying to spoon feed him and then I'm trying to give him the breast and he spits it out one more time. And I'm like, oh, Aslan, you're breaking my heart. And then my husband from the corner is like, don't give him that shit. He's just having a hard time drinking. And I'm like, oh my God, I just immediately went into the family dynamic of guilt tripping your children to get them to do what you want. He's not even like 6 days, 7 days old. And my DNA, even with my training, has kicked in to try and manipulate him, into doing what I want. Like, and I was like, boof, like I was exhausted, but I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, Aslan. But would you please drink? Like, but it does take that commitment to wanting to be the end of the line because that's the thing is the strength of them because it's in the DNA. Even as we become conscious beings, which so many people are getting more and more and more conscious, you put yourself under stress and the knee-jerk response comes back. And that's where it being a family language and having, commitments to each other makes a big difference because he wasn't judging me for that. He wasn't like, oh, you're being a horrible mother. Or he was like, he knew I didn't want to do that to my son, you know? So he was just like, he was just being like my voice of reason in the background.
Yeah, these patterns really run deep. They run deep. So, you said something about uh, relying on the family member to actually call you out without judgment. So,
Yeah.
it, it, if we can, if relationships can become this sort of shared commitment, imagine how quicker we'd move through all
Absolutely.
these triggers. Yeah.
It speeds up our evolution because these knee-jerk responses, they're called knee-jerk responses for a reason. They just pop out again and again and again. and they really hold us back. So,
Mm.
and that was really, our vows on our wedding day was to support each other and each other's evolution. That was what we came here to do, really, honestly. Like we were like, okay, this is our commitment. So it was an unusual marriage. It wasn't based on the common things, but it was we both knew that spirituality and evolution was our highest ideal, and we'd never met anybody else as committed or as willing to go there. So we were like, sticking with you.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
And when the mother and the father have this sort of relationship, it's so, I guess, it brings so much more to the table for the kids when they see that kind of commitment
yeah,
between the parents. Um, uh,
yeah.
can you just any quick tip for someone who, okay, who are aware that they have these patterns, but they don't know where to start or where to begin with?
I think my favorite place to start is actually with a journal. So it's admitting it to myself, and it's extraordinary how putting something in writing and just telling yourself the truth makes it more real. You've really like yeah, you've owned it, let's say, because you've put it in writing. So I very often, start with that, especially now, obviously, my husband is in heaven, so I have to deal with myself. So I'll go and I'll just tell myself the truth, like, wow, this is not happening because I'm X. So there's that pause time. Self-reflection is so important as we move into this age of consciousness that we're all flying rapidly into. And I think meditation is very important. So to sit in meditation and review when things don't go as you might have hoped, and go, okay, what was I actually getting here? Was I getting to control? Was I getting to feel better than? Was I getting to feel less than? Was I getting to feel worthless? What was I adding to this emotional soup that I'm now upset about? But like I was a part of creating, you know, it's so much easier to change ourselves, than to change the other. In fact, we can't change the other. That's the truth, and I think that's a huge mistake that we make in marriages is we're always trying to change the other. And believe me, I tried that. And luckily, my husband was not up for that game. And every time he would be like, "No, I'm like this. Deal with it. It's your reality. Like, don't put it on me." And I'm forever grateful to him for that. And he wasn't an easy person. He was Lebanese.
Yeah, tell me about it. Yeah.
There's
Oh,
a lot
thank
of conditioning that comes with every culture, and his
yes.
conditioning and my conditioning were very different. So we had to really stand up to that in each other.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, thank you for sharing that. Um, it really adds a very new perspective to how we see the family dynamics. And I do relate on a lot of aspects where uh, you want to stay in the marriage, you want the love to grow, but the reality, the patterns are there. It doesn't have to be and what's the saying, and or no, the patterns are allowed to be there.
Yeah,
It's how we meet them and how we relate with them. And
yeah,
this is where the emotional literacy comes in.
yeah,
And yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And the self-responsibility, it
Mhm.
is like we just said, it is never about changing the other. It's about making it work for you. So there was things in my husband that really annoyed me. And when I realized I couldn't fix them, I had to go on a walk one day and just be like, okay, why do I love him?
Mm.
Okay, I love him because he's got the most amazing brain and consciousness I've ever met. Okay, so am I going to throw that away because he doesn't do the dishes and he's messy? I could. Those things really annoy me and they're important to me. But actually, I would really miss him. So then I need to set up my life so that those things work for me. If I need to get help, get help. If I need to, like, okay, you can be messy, but you have to get a housekeeper. Okay, fine. You know, so and it's so interesting. I think we negotiate things in our relationships and we feel like because we negotiated once, we have to accept it. No, it's a constant negotiation for the whole entire marriage, forever, because things that were okay are not okay anymore sometimes. And you have to address that and you have to make changes. We made huge changes along the way, you know, and and you have to because you're always growing and changing. If you're evolving, if you're waking up, you're always growing and changing. So you have to be willing to change the agreements.
Yes, yes. And I'm gonna add to that, it's also with our relationships with our kids as well, not just with our partners. And with our kids, I feel, because I'm currently parenting four boys and three of them are teenagers, and
Bless you.
the patterns are gonna be there no matter how good behaved our kids are. It's that growing up period where the patterns will just, you know, they
Yeah.
will they would need to express themselves, and having that mindset as a parent, um, uh, knowing that, oh, this is a negotiating time, it's not gonna last forever, but
And making the situation work for you, even though you might not like what's happening,
mm,
being like, okay, you're going to do that, then I'm going to X. And I think that's something as parents and wives and husbands as well, we often sacrifice certain things, and you can never sacrifice for too long because it becomes martyred. You can sacrifice for a minute, sure, consciously, but don't let it go too long.
yes, so true, so true. So where can people know more about Kids EQ and what you offer?
So kidseq.com is our website, and it's in the process of a re-evolution, and it's becoming an online training for parents. And so that's where you can sign up to be notified when we first release that training. And actually, you can also sign up to be one of our test people because as Nadine mentioned, it was 21 books, and we're taking all of that and making it into an app so that it can be more integrated into your day and be with you.
Yes, and the link will be below the recording. Uh, Anything else you'd like to share before we wrap it up?
No, just wishing everybody, strength and commitment to their own evolution. I think we're in a point in history where people are waking up very rapidly. And so that commitment to remembering that you are your center, you are the center, is what really makes you bother to understand your emotions and all of those things, better. Because if we can rely on it being your fault, I don't have to deal with myself. But if I know it's not your fault and that I can change and that I can choose something different, if I really, really don't like being with you, I can get off this call, right? I don't have to stay here. There's a choice, even if you're, being mean to me or something. So I think that's really important is that you always bring it back to the internal because that's where the real change always happens. When we try to change something on the external, it's very hard work. When we change it on the internal, the external has to change because your energy towards it has changed. It cannot stay the same. It's the law of resonance. So, yeah, work on yourself, enjoy it, and just go deep.
Mm. Wonderful words of wisdom. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, Rowan. Thank
Oh,
you so
such a
much.
pleasure. Good luck with everything you're doing, and thank you so much for all of it. You're amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.